2, 3. Well, it all started out when Yank was just a little kid. Well, it all started out when Yank was just a little kid. Well, this man down the road would trade a mandolin for his pig. So Willy played around Brownsville with blind man Sleepy John. He played the jug bands of Memphis with jabbing old Sleepy John. Well, he made his own records and he played on Sonny Boy One. Play the blues, Sonny Boy. String, Mr. Dan. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
That's my song, the new Yank Rachell Blues. I wrote that back the day that Yank Rachell died, April 9th, 1997. And thanks to everybody for coming out. We're to the Indiana State Fair Yank Rachell tribute. We're the tribute band this year. We're normally known as the Naptown Jug Busters. And if you don't mind, I introduce to you Dan Bent down there playing that 12-string guitar. Mr. Dan, give him a big hand. Allen Stratyner playing the harmonica. He's played in Yank Rachell's band, the Steppin' Out Blues Band, for many years and was on Yank's last CD, Too Hot for the Devil. We have a special guest this year, Mr. John Boyer playing his mandolin.
Down along the end right there is Mr. Rich Hynes, who put this all together.
Thank you very much.
How about Bill back there, Dave?
And Mr. Bill Bailey back here banging on stuff, playing all those different instruments.
Get him.
Washboard and spoons and congas and whatnot. And we're here to pay tribute to everybody's friend, James Yank Rachell. He was a guy that lived around Indianapolis here for many, many years and was the patriarch of the blues scene and the music scene here in central Indiana for a long time. And it did all start out, like my song said, back in 1910. Yank was born down in Brownsville, Tennessee. And around 1920, when he was 10 years old, he was walking down the road. And he heard a noise. It was a funny noise. He didn't really know what it was. And so he looked around and finally found that there was a guy sitting on the front porch playing one of those old potato bug mandolins. If you remember those Italian mandolins, they call them tater bugs. And Yank was so fascinated with the sound of that instrument that he just had to have it. I mean, it was just the jangly sound. 10-year-old kid hearing a jangly sound like that. And didn't know what to do, didn't have any money. I think the story goes that Yank asked the guy, well, how much you want for the mandolin? And the guy said, oh, I'll take $5 for it. And Yank had never seen $5. He was a young kid down there in western Tennessee, and he didn't have $5 was a lot of money back in those days, but he did have a family pig. A pig that his folks had gave him, as a little possession. They had planned on making bacon out of that thing, for the winter and having it for food sustenance over the winter months. But Yank took that pig down and traded it to that man for a mandolin, and then it all started from there when Yank was about 10 years old, and he played around West Tennessee and in Memphis and on Beale Street in the different jug bands. And different house parties and things of that nature up until 1929 him and his longtime friend, Sleepy John Estes, went up to Chicago, and they recorded several sides for the Victor Talking Machine Company there in 1929, Victor Records. And one of the songs that they recorded is a tune we're going to do our version of it for you right here and right now. It's called the Diving Duck Blues. 1, 2, 3. If the river were whiskey and I was a diving duck. If the river were whiskey, Lord, and I was a diving duck. Well, I dived to the bottom and I never would come up. Well, I went to the railroad and I looked straight into the sun. Well, I went to the railroad and I looked straight into the sun. Well, the train don't hurry, there's gonna be some walking done. Walk on, Mr. Allen. Never take a married woman as your best friend. Don't ever take a married woman as your best friend. Well, she'll take all your money and she'll spend it on the other man. But if the river were whiskey and I was a diving duck. If the river were whiskey, Lord, and I was a diving duck. Well, I dived to the bottom and I never would come up. Play your mandolin, son. Whiskey, and I was a diving. Well, I was a diving, Lord, a diving duck. If the river were whiskey, and I was a diving duck. Well, I dived to the bottom, and I never would come up. Take it on home now. Thank you very much. The Diving Duck Blues recorded by Mr. Yank Rachell way back in 1929 for Victor Records. Yank Rachell and Sleepy John Estes doing that song back in the 1920s. And we're going to ask Mr. Dan. We got another Sleepy John song coming up for you here. Mr. Dan's going to do that old Sleepy John tune, Leaving Trunk. What do you got for us, Mr. Dan?
This is Sleepy John Estes tune. Some folks know it as Leaving Trunk. Some folks know it as Act Sweet Mama. And it goes like this. Well, I asked Mama, would you leave my kid? And she said, well, I might, but you know I gotta keep it in. And then she looked at me and she began to smile. And she said, I might use you for my man a while, but just don't you let my husband catch you here. I said, just don't you let my husband get you here. So I went upstairs and I packed my leaving trunk. Never did saw no whiskey, blues made me sloppy drunk. Never saw no whiskey, the blues made me sloppy drunk. Never did saw no whiskey, but the blues made me sloppy drunk. Play it, Allen. it's a slow consumption, killing me by degrees. It's a slow consumption, killing me by degrees. It's a slow consumption and it's killing me by degrees. Thank you, leaving trunk. At the same time that Yank and Sleepy John were making records and playing around in South Texas and Mississippi and Georgia and whatnot, we're getting up to the Depression times and things was kind of tough all over, and so we'd like to kind of deviate a little bit from the Yank path and talk about a fella who was writing songs in West Virginia at that time, a fella by the name of Blind Alfred Reed, because he wrote this song that was true about those times and it's true about these times. It's called How Can a Poor Man Stand Such Times and Live? There once was a time when everything was cheap. Now prices nearly put a man to sleep. When we get our grocery bill, we just feel like making a will. So tell me, how can a poor man stand such times and live? Stand it, John? Prohibition's good if it's conducted right. Ain't no sense in shooting a man till he shows flight. Officers kill without a cause, then they go complain about the funny laws. So tell me, how can a poor man stand such times and live? Allen? The doctor, he comes around with his face all bright, and he says, in a little while you're gonna be all right. All he gives is a humbug pill, a dose of dope and a great big bill. So tell me, how can a poor man stand such times and live? How can a poor man stand such times and live? Thank you kindly.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's for sure. Times were tough back in those days for everybody. As everybody knows, it was the Depression, and lots of folks had different ways of making money. And a lot of times you didn't have any way to make money, or you might just get in trouble if you're walking down the road. You got no money, you got nothing to do. They would pick you up and arrest you for vagrancy and put you on a chain gang if they find you with nothing to do. So a lot of times people that didn't have much in the way of skills, they might have joined a band or been a musician or a traveling minstrel or a songster or troubadour or something like that. And some folks got together and formed what they called jug bands, which meant that you didn't have to have a jug, or you could only have a jug. It's up to you. But a lot of times they had a bunch of different folks get together and play jug band music and use different instruments that perhaps were not commonly known as instruments, like a jug, or like Mr. Bill Bailey back there playing the washboard and spoons and different things. I've even seen Mr. Bailey play two rocks before, and be very successful at it. So a lot of folks would get together and they would do jug band music for parties and whatnot around West Tennessee and in Memphis on Beale Street and West Memphis, Arkansas. And Yank Rachell was in a jug band with John Estes and Jab Jones, and it was called the the Three J's Jug Band, for James and for John and for Jab. And Jab Jones went on to form a group. He didn't form it, but he was an integral part of the much more well-known jug band called the Memphis Jug Band, and they're probably their best known song is a tune called "Stealin'," And we're going to ask Mr. John Warrior and plus a special guest to come up. If you would introduce our special guest on the Memphis Jug Band song "Stealing" for us, John.
Yeah, we'd like to welcome from Nashville, Indiana, Jamie Hood. She's going to help sing this song.
Woo-hoo!
She's part of a duet that we have together, me and her, called The Hammer and the Hatchet. Here we go. This is an old-time song. Gus Cannon wrote this song. It's called "Stealing."
Put your arms around me like a silk around the sun. I wanna hold you, honey, like my easy rider done. I don't believe I love you. Look at the fool I've been. Can't believe I'm sinking. Look at the hole I'm in. Stealing, stealing, pretty mama, don't you tell on me. I'm stealing back to my same old used to be.
Oh, the woman I love, she's just my hot desire. Married girl, won't you see me sometime? Don't believe I love you. Look at the fool I've been. You don't believe I'm sinking. Look at the hole I'm in.
Stealing, stealing, pretty mama, don't you tell on me. Oh, I'm stealing back to my same old used to be. Around the sun, I wanna hold you, honey, like my easy rider done. I don't believe I love you. Look at the fool I've been. Can't believe I'm sinking. Look at the hole I'm in. Stealing, stealing, pretty mama, don't you tell on me. I'm stealing back to my same old used to be. Everybody now. Stealing. Don't you tell on me. Well, I'm stealing back to my same old used to be. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah, thank you, Jamie Hood.
Jamie Hood, everybody. Yeah. That was song "Stealing," as John said, written by the Gus Cannon of the Cannon Jug Stompers, and also a big hit for the Memphis Jug Band, "Stealing," down there on Beale Street, Memphis, Tennessee, USA. Yank recorded for a lot of different labels. He started out there with Victor Records, and went on and recorded for Vocalion and Mellow Tone and Perfect Records and a bunch of different record companies back there in the 30s. And then eventually he signed with Bluebird Records, which was a company that was owned by RCA Corporation. And he had a string of great songs and a lot of success on Bluebird. And one of the first tunes that he recorded for Bluebird back in 1935, we're going to get Mr. John Boyer to do his version of Yank's great old tune called Texas Tony. Tell us about it, John.
Yeah, this is I heard this song a long time ago, and then I got asked to do this deal here, tribute, and I was excited to learn up a little bit of Texas Tony. So we'll do a little short version of it, but we'll get some of it out anyhow. So it goes something like 1, 2, 3, 4. Texas Tony, I can board the jack. I do anything, sure thing, oh Lord, bring my woman back. Mama, mama, no, I am your child indeed, my Lord. Mama, mama, know that I am your child. Little jumped in now, don't stop something now. Pistol and some shells. Bring my shotgun, pistol and some shells. That's what woman, so thing. Oh Lord, we're gonna start something here. Hear that rumbling way down in the ground, indeed, my Lord. Hear that rumbling way down in the ground. Must be my woman, oh Lord, sure thing. Lord, she's a jumping down. Texas Tony, I can board the jet. I'd do anything, oh Lord, sure thing. Bring my woman back.
John Boyer on the mandolin and
Thank you very much. I couldn't have picked a harder song to do.
That is one of Yank's tougher songs. Again, recorded back in 1935 on Bluebird Records, and a guy that was a very influential part of blues music and Americana music as a whole, was one of Yank's partners, and on many of his sides for Bluebird. Sonny Boy Williamson won, John Lee Williamson, and the reason why I say won is that there was another guy that Sonny Boy was so popular and so influential that some guy from Arkansas just named himself Sonny Boy Williamson. So most folks call him Sonny Boy too, and we're going to ask our harmonica player, Mr. Allen Stratyner, to tell you that story. Tell us about it, Al.
Okay, well, as Rich just told you, there were two Sonny Boys. The first one being the young gentleman who came along, drove by Yank's house. He used to say, "Yank, I want to play with you." That's John Lee Williamson, who was one of the most influential harmonica players in the history of the instrument. Influenced all the great harmonica players out of Chicago, like Little Walter, Big Walter Horton, Snooky Pryor. He was the man. But this other Sonny Boy now, the one who I'm going to play a song by, we're all going to play it in a moment, he was born Alec Miller. Now, his dad called him Rice, and he grew up around Helena, Arkansas. And there were these two fellas who were in the milling business, and they started a radio show, and they wanted this Rice Miller to play harmonica on it. And he was such a good player, but they wanted to get him some really good publicity. And everybody had heard about the original Sonny Boy in Chicago because he had some big hit records. So these two fellas who owned the grocery business said, "Rice Miller, why don't you call yourself Sonny Boy? We're all the way down here in Helena, Arkansas, and that Sonny Boy is up in Chicago. He'll never find out about it." And so that's how he came by the name Sonny Boy. Now this tune, Rice Miller used to play on a big harmonica like this, and it's something he called Bye Bye Bird.
Bye-bye, bird. Bird, I'm gone. Oh, bird, I am gone. I'm gone. Baby, I am gone to see my girl. Bye-bye Bird by Mr. Sonny Boy Williams. Thank you all. Thank you.
That was awesome, Alan.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate that.
Mr. Allen Stratyner on that Sonny Boy Williamson 2 song. And if we could get a big hand, a big round of applause for Mr. Bill Bailey also back there playing the percussion for us and basically putting this whole show on for us. We appreciate your efforts, Bill. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Bill. Yeah.
Again, Yank Rachell, like many folks, moved up north, and the great migration north of many folks from the south. And we're going to go ahead and go on with my tune and tell more of Yank's story right now. 2, 3, well, he moved up north. He's living in old Naptown. Well, he moved up north. He was living in old Naptown. Well, the blues man's a family man. It's time for him to settle down. And then along came John and Hammy Nixon too. And then along came John and Hammy Nixon too. Well, they toured all over Europe playing good old country blues. Play some country blues for us on that mandolin.
Oh, yeah.
One more time. Blow your heart down. That's right. Like many folks, Yank moved up north and started living in Indianapolis. He lived a little while in St. Louis and then come up here to Indy around 1959 and began to raise his family. It was very important to him to not only be a blues man, but to be a family man, and he loved his daughter and he loved his grandkids, and he wanted to make sure that they had a good home too. And in many ways, that helped us to hang on to Yank a little bit longer, I believe. A lot of traveling musicians, they get out there and they get on the road. It's a hard life out there. And, they have so much to do, and there's so many dangers that a lot of folks just don't make it, And Yank, because he spent as much time at home with his family as he did being a musician, I think that kept him around us a little bit longer. But right around early 60s, 1962, 64, the folk scare, as they used to call it, or the folk music scene, kind of had a blues revival where they were bringing out Mississippi John Hurt and different people that were old-timers, they thought, that from pre-war country and Delta blues players that were making a resurgence and making a comeback. And several people, like Willie Dixon, for example, out of Chicago, he would book these tours of Europe where they bring all the old timers over and some of the young guys and do blues shows, and they call it the American Folk Blues Festival tours. And Yank was on many of those tours and played the Newport Folk Festival, among other festivals, and enjoyed quite a resurgence of his career as a musician, and also spent time with some of the older folks that he had spent time with down south prior to the war. And one of those people that he played there at Newport with was a Miss Elizabeth Cotton, and she had a great tune called Freight Train. Great song by Elizabeth Cotton. And we're going to ask John Boyer to do that song Freight Train for us right now. How about it, John?
Hey, Rich, is this a train song?
I think, Bill, this is a train song.
I think we need to get these folks involved in this song.
Well, that would be awesome.
When we go like that, you know what it means? Woo-hoo! Woo-hoo! Watch me in the back. We're going to be coming around
Watch
that
Bill.
coast pretty quickly.
Y'all ready? Yeah.
Freight train running so fast. Freight train rolling so fast. Please don't tell them it's right, so they won't know where I've gone. Oh, when I die, Lord, there may be down at the end of Old Chestnut Street. Place no stones at my head, oh, tell them all I've gone to see. Vocal mic, didn't we?
Yeah.
That is yours.
Thank you very much. Yeah. The universe is increasingly chaotic. That's all I know. Here we go. 2, 3, then along came John and hand me Nixon too. Then along came John and hand me Nixon too. Well, they toured all over Europe playing good old country blues. Well, when Taj caught the Katy, so did them TV stars. When the brothers caught the Katy on the way to being movie stars. Well, Yank kept on playing in them local bars. Thank you very much. That's right, Yank Rachell back in the 1960s. He was playing around in Europe and doing folk festivals in the United States, and he went out for a gig out in California and hooked up out there with a guy a lot of people know, a rock star named Taj Mahal. And Taj was known for doing a lot of different songs, older type tunes, and him and Yank, as the story goes, Yank went and stayed at Taj's house there in Los Angeles, and they wrote a song together called "She Caught the Katy," and Taj recorded that song and had it on one of his albums, and a few years later, 8 or 10 years later, there was a couple of guys that were TV stars on Saturday Night Live, and they did a movie called The Blues Brothers. And so for their soundtrack for that movie, The Blues Brothers, they recorded that song, Taj Mahal's version of She Caught the Katy, and they had that as the opening song for their movie, a very popular movie at the time called The Blues Brothers. And Yank Rachell's song was the opening tune, was called She Caught the Katy, co-written by Taj Mahal, and it was also the first song on the album, on Atlantic Records, for the soundtrack for that movie. And we're going to ask Mr. Dan Bent down there on that 12-string guitar to do that song for us now, She Caught the Katy. What do you think, Dan?
Well, I got to say, this is the first song of Yank's that I became aware of. This was the song that introduced me to Yank Rachell, and later I went on to learn some of his other tunes, and I had the opportunity to meet Yank and visit with him at his house and play a little music with him, and also it's especially meaningful for me to play this tune, and it's about a train, I think that's what it's about. I never quite know.
The train song, yes.
My My baby's tall. Said my gal, she's long. My gal, she's tall. Sleep with her head in the kitchen. Her feet stick out in a hall. I'm sure enough crazy about her, that hard-headed woman of mine. Well, you know I love that woman. She's so fine. I wish she'd come up, see me sometime. Don't believe I love you, look what a fool I've been. Don't believe it's me singing, but you know the whole I'm in playing well. Sometime. Don't believe I love you. You know what a hole I'm in. You don't believe it's me singing. You know what a fool I'm in. Now she called to Katie. She left me a mule to ride. My baby called to Katie. She left me a mule to ride. My baby called to Katie. She left me a mule to ride. And the train pulled in. I swung right along behind. You know, I'm sure enough crazy about her, that hard-headed woman of mine. I'm sure enough crazy about her, that hard-headed woman of mine. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Dan Bent doing that song, She Caught the Katy, co-written by Yank Rachell, our friend, and also Taj Mahal. Recorded back in the 60s, got up, like I said, through the 70s and the 80s, and all that time Yank was enjoying a certain level of success as a musician and getting recognition. But at the same time, he was still our friend, still played around local bars and local festivals, and was nice to people like me and people like Allen, and was friendly to everybody around town, I thought.
Nice to me, too.
Nice to Dan.
Not everybody is.
Yank was nice to everybody.
He was nice to everybody.
That's incredible.
And we also had another friend who was a good close friend of Yank's. It was a famous folk singer and blues guitarist, Pat Webb, one of my folk heroes, who knew Yank for a long time. And the guy that called me and told me the day that Yank died, called me that morning and told me about he has now passed away. We'd like to say thanks to Pat for being such a great friend of ours, and also to our friend Mike Butler. This goes out to Mike Butler. He's a great Yank protege and the kind of guy that did everything he could to make sure Yank's music was out there, and he has since passed, so we'd like to dedicate this set to Mike Butler as well. And we're going to go ahead and continue with my tune, the new Yank Rachell Blues. Here we go.
Listen quick before we pass on, too.
We still have ways. Well, when Taj caught the Katy, so did them TV stars. When the brothers caught the Katy on the way to being movie stars. Well, Yank kept on playing in them local bars. Well, I remember Pat called me and he told me that Yank had died. Pat Webb called me and he told me Yank Rachell had died. Well, I hung up my phone and I hung down my head and I cried. And then I picked up my mandolin and I began to play. And then I picked up my mandolin and I began to play. Well, my very best version of Yank's old tapping that thing. Well, I've been to New York, I've been to New Orleans, just to hear Yank Rachell play the mandolin. The tapping that thing, great God Almighty, tapping that thing, great God Almighty, every morning at 8, you hear me tapping that thing. Play some now. For coming out to the Yank Rachell tribute at your 2014 Indiana State Fair. Thanks to Yank Rachell.
Yeah.
Thank you all, everybody. We do appreciate it.
Hope you enjoy the state fair here in 2014.
We're going to be on the tractor parade here in a little bit at 6 with Andrew Fay and Scott Ballantyne.
And the tractors.
7 o'clock
And tractors.
tonight, Andrew Fay and Scott Ballantyne will be in here playing. They're going to probably some of the best blues people in the city.
They're fabulous. Very
Longtime friends of Yank Rachell, Scott Ballantyne and Andrew Fay both. I think Scott and Yank went back all the way to the 1960s. So these guys are very accomplished and very enjoyable musicians. So you'll want to be back here at 7 o'clock.
7 o'clock.
For
I
Andrew
think
Fay.
She's going to join us on the bandwagon, and as she gets off the bandwagon, she's going to go walk right up on stage.
All right.
And Scott will be waiting on her.
Thank you very much. Thanks, everybody, for coming
Enjoy,
out. We do appreciate
everybody.
it.
Have a good
Thank
time.
you. Thank you for coming.
God Almighty.
Home tonight, please.
Hello.